Hi, this is Erica with Launching Legacies. Welcome to our daily devotional. So today we are continuing with part 3 of the Blood Covenant series, and we're going to talk about changing coats. Quickly to review, we've talked about choosing the best representative. After choosing the best representative, making the cut, so the animal is cut in a place that's irreparable, and the blood is allowed to fall on the floor. Now, once the blood is on the floor, there's a process in which the ancient Hebrews would walk through the blood, and then as they walk through the blood, they walk through the blood 2 times. The blood that's scattered on the floor, again, that's their entanglement with the blood that was shed. Remember, that was their possession, their commitment to not turning back, and their vulnerability. So they are saturated, or their feet are saturated in this blood. They're walking through this blood that's been shed on the floor. But after doing that, or in the process of doing that, the next thing that they do was change coats. And so they would take off their coat and give it to the other person, and vice versa. Okay, and so this exchange of coats was an exchange of identity, and it was very interesting because the examples that was used by remember, this is Kenneth Copeland that I'm reading. The examples that were used by Copeland was that of a military institution. And if you have ever been around someone who's been in the military, anything about the military, that the ranking is signified on the coat in many different ways. And so there is the oh goodness, everybody would be ashamed for my previous job. I used to work for a military school. So they have insignias here on their shoulders, and then they also have their medals and their stripes and whatnot that signifies who they are, what their ranking is, right? And so a private, it has different rankings than a general, and so their uniform looks very different in structure, sometimes even in color, and other times even in fit. Depends on what type of institution we're talking about. But there is definitely signified in it, and is very different. Also, what you might notice that I noticed when I was working for the military school I used to work at, they had different hats. The privates had a different hat than the sergeants or the other the higher ranked people. So it's something that outwardly shows who they are. That's what the coat represents. So when we talk about the exchange of coats within this blood covenant, what we're talking about is them exchanging this outward appearance, how people perceive them, how people see them, because the ranking, particularly for the military, it's a big deal. The only way I know what you are, if you're a general, if you are a private, if you're a whatever, a sergeant, first sergeant, so on and so forth, the only way I would know that is through the uniform. You're just a regular looking person. I mean, by age would give away a bit, possibly, but in all honesty, a person can be in the military for extended amounts of times and never really move up in ranking, because they just don't get as many promotions. But there's other people who are not in for as long, and so by age they may look younger, but have moved up in ranking. So the only way for us to identify this is through uniform. And I remember talking about the military school as we talk about blood covenants. What would happen in the school that I worked in, it was a full military school. The people would come in. These were young men. The young men would come in, and when they would come in, they would already look at each other, one another. I didn't understand the uniform as clearly as they did. They would look at one another's uniforms and automatically put themselves in the right order based on ranking. They knew what I didn't know. They knew what every line signified, every medal, every bar, every whatever signified, and they would automatically come into ranking. They would accommodate that outward appearance to do or act in the way that they should act. And so when they have this blood covenant happening, it's operating under that same kind of paradigm, that people will know you by what coat you wear. So if you are a teacher, you have a teacher's coat, okay? And if you are a lawyer, a lawyer's coat, or a farmer's coat, an engineer, or some party in the military, you have a coat that represents who you are. And so when they change coats, what they're changing is that identity and representation. So I may be teacher Erica, because I have my teacher's coat on. But when I exchange it, when I make this blood covenant with this 5-star general, I become 5-star General Erica. Why? Because they're responding. Anybody who interacts with me is responding to that which I wear, right? They're not responding to me having a long, elongated conversation. Well, I've been a teacher, and why am I wearing a general? Because this, that. No. If they see the general's markings, they respond to me as a general. If they see the teacher's marking, they respond to that person as a teacher. So whoever I make a covenant with, I get what they have and they get what I have, right? I get the identity, the respect that they have, and they get the identity, respect that I have. And so it's an exchange, and this mutually beneficial, right? Because wouldn't it be great if I was not just a teacher, but also a lawyer, or also a this, or also a that, right? And so that's amazing, right? Because you get to share in the benefits of whatever this person's identity, status, their work, what they've worked towards. You get to share in the benefits of what that is. And so even some people are like, well, I wouldn't want to share in the benefits of somebody who I thought was lesser than me. This is not about lesser or greater. This is about diversity, being able to affect a greater amount of change over place. If I'm a doctorate of education, but imagine if I was a doctorate of education and a Juris Doctorate. I'd be a lawyer and an educator. Imagine if I was this, that, you know what I'm saying? If I started adding, it diversifies who I can reach and how I can reach. So now I have all of these different hats I can put on, or coats I can wear, right? And in each coat, it allows me to influence different places. And this was a unique part of the blood covenant. It says that your identity is my identity. Here goes the application for us, though, as we think about blood covenants. Moving forward, do we accept the identity that we have been given through the blood covenant that is ours, right? Because it's a big deal. Everything that you have, I have because I put on your coat. Everything that I have, you have because you put on my coat. Am I living in a promise that says I've accepted this coat and the fullness of this identity, or am I living in less than that? And how you would know is if you find yourself finding issue with things that are not of issue, right? Teachers don't find issue with children who ask questions because they're teachers. And so if you find yourself having exchanged that identity, but still not acting like a teacher, still finding yourself frustrated and doing all these, dealing with these things in ways that are not teacher-like, then you haven't embraced the fullness of identity, right? A general doesn't worry about respect. Generals get respect. Why? Because their position commands respect. They don't have to worry about that. We had generals at our school that worked in high-ranking positions, and when people they passed cadets or privates and whatnot, there was a salute always. They didn't have to worry about it. They didn't think about it. It was something that they had earned and something that they deserved. It was a part of their identity. So if I put on the coat of a general, I'm no longer worried about people respecting me, paying attention. Are they listening to me? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? No, part of the covenant says I take on that, and what's mine is mine. I don't have to fight for it. I don't have to be frustrated if I think I'm not getting enough of it. I don't have to worry about it. I get whatever is entitled to me because I share in this identity. How are you doing in your blood covenants? Are you fully able to receive the identity that has been given to you through the covenant? I hope that you have, and if you haven't, I hope that you'll think about accepting and really embracing the fullness of this coat exchange, right? So we're praying for you. We hope that you're praying for us because we need your prayers. And we will see you again tomorrow with another of our devotional series. But remember to meditate on changing coats. Okay? Until then, be blessed.